Like, how do you compromise and say, I'm really going to make this, and I know this is funny, but I'm going to take a little bit of what they're saying? Like, how much of a percentage, I guess, would you compromise?
Well, it depends, man. Somebody who's writing you a check, you're always going to listen to. I don't give a shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, for years, people be like, how do you deal with Harvey? I'm like, happily, because the man gives me money to make movies, and the least I could do is be like, well, you want me to cut what out? No, I'll think about it and shit. And he was always very clever. Like, we had a 3-hour cut of Dogma, and he was never like, never! And he's Harvey Scissorhands back in these days and shit. So we put 3-hour cut in front of him and shit, and he was like, this is wonderful. This is the best movie you ever made, man. I think there's a few minutes you can cut from it. I was like, yeah, you're right, we should. We went in, we cut out like 15 fucking minutes, showed him the next cut, 2 hours and 45 and shit. He was like, oh, spellbinding. He's like, you're doing such a great job. He's like, this movie was great. Now it's even fucking better. He's going, but it feels like there's just a few more minutes you could probably find. And I said, yeah, you're right. Me and Scott went in, hacked out some fucking more. He kept that going until one day we were showing him a 2-hour cut of the movie. And he never once did it negatively.
Right.
It was never like, you're going to do what I say, or else Bob's going to fucking kick your ass. You know? It was literally, it was a Jedi mind trick. He got me to cut an hour out of the movie just by being like, I think there's a couple more minutes. And he finally did it on a 2-hour cut. And I was like, dude, I understand now. Like, no, this is it. And he goes, oh, okay, it worked for a while. So you've always got to be open to the idea. If somebody writes you a check, the least you could fucking do is take their idea seriously. Not just listen. I'm not talking about like, oh, I'll listen, but I'm going to fucking do what I want. That's your partner. You know what I'm saying? You don't get that dream come to life unless somebody writes that fucking check. So you respect the money. You respect somebody who brings the fucking money to you. They're your co-author. You're not in this alone. Like, nobody is an island in this fucking business. That's why I hate that a film by credit. And I put one person's fucking name. Like, that makes no sense. Like, no one person has ever made a film except the kids on YouTube and shit. But in terms of the MPAA, look at those credits. You ever see one guy's name or one lady's name? No, it's an ocean of fucking people. So it's the film, you know, everybody's doing it. And nobody has a bad idea, right? Like, in the beginning of my career, I always used to be like, no, these are my ideas, my script, and I'll fucking tell my story, and I got to do it my way. Then I realized, like, let everybody else fucking bring to it. It's like stone soup, man. You ever remember that story and shit? You got a big empty pot in a village. It's like, we're fucking starving. And some dude comes through and he goes, well, I got a stone. We can make magic stone soup. I'm going to throw the stone in the pot. You bring what little food you have from your house. You bring this. Everybody brings their ingredients from the house, and they make a stew, and they're all eating it. They're like, holy shit, stone soup is a miracle. And motherfucker takes a stone. He's like, you're all a bunch of idiots. You had the ingredients all along. And he leaves. I don't think that's the right ending to the story, but but it's something along those lines. So you let everybody bring ingredients to the pot. You get fucking credit for the ideas. Like, Johnny Depp's wearing a dick on his face in the movie, and people are like, good job. I'm like, I didn't do it. Like, I let him bring it to it. I wasn't like, no, you can't do that, because I didn't think of that idea. I learned that on Jay and Silent Bob, Strike Back, and on Dogma. Dogma, I worked with Chris Rock. Chris Rock is 10 times funnier than I'll ever be in my life. And up till that moment in my career, I was always telling people, like, don't add your own jokes to this. Like, don't ad-lib. Like, Ben Affleck, worst fucking offender of that world. Ad-lib like fucking crazy. On Chasing Amy, there's a scene where he's sitting on the swings with Joey Lauren Adams, and they're talking about fisting in 1997. It was way ahead of its time. So they're talking about fisting and shit. And she goes like, she goes like this, she imitates, and he reacts, and he's like, oh my God, didn't that hurt? And she goes, we only do it once in a while. It's reserved for special occasions. And that was the line, and that's it. And then they moved on the conversation. So we're shooting that. And they're on the swings. I'm watching the monitor and wearing my headphones and shit. And that moment happens, and you know, she does this, and Ben goes, Jesus, doesn't that hurt? And she goes, yeah, we only do it once in a while. It's reserved for special occasions. And Ben goes, what do you do for not so special occasions? Just hit her in the head with a fucking bat? You know, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, cut, and I went over and I was like, what the fuck, dude? And he's like, you like that? And I said, not at all. He goes, leave it in. That's for my peeps. And this was 1996, and he had no fucking peeps except me. So I was like, as your number one peep, I don't like it. And he goes, that's fucking funny, dude. That's really funny. And he goes, no. I said, dude, it is, but it's not for this movie. I said, you want to make up fucking funny shit? Save all your made-up lines, put them in your own script. And he did that, and he won a fucking Oscar. So
That's it.
But let people in, man. Let people make suggestions. You'll get credit for it, you know? Chris Rock on Dogma, he made up a joke I could never in a million years make up, and it was hysterical, man. I could never make the fucking joke, but he wrote it on the fly. I was like, oh my God. And still to this day, people quote that line to me. I'm like, I didn't write that, Chris Rock did. So take suggestions, and even if it's like, whether it's somebody being like, hey, can we say this and shit like that, like, here, this is how I direct, man. I don't like sit there. Some directors are like, they'll talk to the actor in a real kind of emotive way where they're just like, look, this scene, the essence of the scene is that you are an antelope and you're surrounded by a bunch of lions, but they think you're a lion, not an antelope. Act, you know, and I don't do that. Some people do that very well. I'm the guy that's like, let's just make pretend and then come over and watch the monitor. People are self-corrective, man. If you show an actor or an actress the take they just did, you don't even have to fucking tell them what you want changed. They just sit there and make the calculation, do it themselves, man. It's amazing. You do that with the crew as well. At the beginning of every day, I take all the work we did the day before, because I'm the editor as well. I cut it together that night. I bring it in the next morning. First thing we do before we shoot is like, let's watch what we did yesterday. Because the movie goes from being like theoretical to something fucking concrete. Everybody working on this shit don't get to see it for like 6 months or whatever, but if you show them every day, not only are they seeing the movie come to life, but they're self-correcting. They're looking at it going like, fuck, I could light that better. Fuck, I could do that better. And that day's work goes up 20%, man. So let everybody in. Information should never be withheld. Like, you want to communicate your ideas and shit, tell everyone every piece of information you have, and you got to take in all the data as well. That's your only job really as a director, is to answer questions and fucking field suggestions. And if you balance that right, your art improves, man. People bring fucking shit. Your shit becomes stone soup.
Awesome.
Kevin Smith, thank you very much.
Thanks, folks. Go out and produce something.
That was awesome. Thanks, man.